The order is already in motion. It exists first as a sequence of words arranged in a fixed pattern, copied exactly, stamped, initialed, and passed forward. It does not announce itself. It does not explain. It arrives folded, then unfolded, then read aloud in a measured voice that does not change pace between sentences. Each line is acknowledged. Each acknowledgement is recorded. The paper moves on. It travels through corridors built for movement, not reflection. Through rooms where surfaces are cleared and chairs are aligned. Through hands trained to receive, not to pause. The language is precise and repetitive, designed to leave no space between instruction and compliance. It assumes acceptance as a condition of its existence. There is no urgency in its delivery. Urgency would suggest uncertainty. Instead, there is rhythm, a predictable cadence. The same phrasing appears again and again, reproduced without variation, as if repetition itself confers correctness. Each time it is read, it becomes more real. Each time it is copied, it gains weight. Those who handle it do not alter its course. They do not add emphasis. They do not remove ambiguity. Their role is to ensure continuity. The order is not theirs to interpret. It is theirs to transmit. The act of passing it along is treated as completion of duty. The system rewards smooth transfer, not interruption. No one asks where it began. The origin is irrelevant now. The order has detached from its source and entered the structure, where origins dissolve into process. It belongs to the system more than to any individual. Once inside, it is protected by procedure, insulated by layers of acknowledgement that transform instruction into obligation. Time passes in small, regulated increments. Clocks are checked, logs are updated, signals are confirmed. The order advances step by step, never accelerating, never slowing, as if guided by an internal mechanism that resists deviation. It is not evaluated for correctness. Correctness is assumed by form alone. The environment around it adapts. Schedules align, resources shift, movements synchronize. All of this occurs without raised voices or visible tension. Calm is preserved because calm is expected. The absence of disturbance is interpreted as proof that nothing is wrong. Each transfer reduces the distance between instruction and outcome. With every handoff, the possibility of interruption narrows. The system does not recognize silence as danger. Silence is efficiency. Silence means the order fits. By the time the last acknowledgement, the order no longer needs to be. It has been absorbed into routine. It moves now without escort, carried forward by habit and expectation. What it will produce is no longer a question to be considered. The process is complete. The sequence is locked. The order will reach its conclusion because nothing in the system was designed to stop it. The structure that receives the order is already prepared for. It is built to accept instructions as inputs and convert them into motion with minimal loss. Every layer has a defined shape, a defined function, and a defined boundary beyond which responsibility does not extend. Movement within this structure follows a single direction. Upward communication exists only to confirm receipt. Downward communication carries purpose. The order descends through this structure without friction. Each level recognizes the format immediately. The language matches expectations. The phrasing aligns with established templates. There is comfort in familiarity. Familiarity reduces the impulse to examine. At each point of transfer, the same actions repeat. The order is read. The order is acknowledged. The acknowledgement is logged. There is no discussion, because discussion would imply discretion. Discretion would suggest that the system relies on judgment rather than alignment. This system does not. The hierarchy is not enforced through threat or spectacle. It is enforced through routine. Individuals learn early that deviation creates delay, and delay creates attention. Attention is not rewarded. Efficiency, the safest position within the structure, is the one that keeps the process moving. No single layer possesses a complete view. Each receives only what is necessary to execute the next step. Context is segmented. Awareness is compartmentalized. This fragmentation is not accidental. It prevents hesitation from forming. Questions require a wider frame. The structure provides none. The order benefits from this segmentation. As it moves downward, it sheds complexity. Details that do not pertain to immediate execution are stripped away. What remains is instruction distilled to action. The further it travels, the more inevitable it becomes. Those positioned along its path understand their role clearly. They are not tasked with evaluation. Evaluation has already occurred somewhere else, at some earlier point, within another segment of the structure. That assumption is embedded into the chain itself. To question now would be redundant. Redundancy is treated as inefficiency. The environment reinforces this logic. Spaces are arranged to emphasize direction. Desks face forward. Boards display sequences, not alternative. Communications are brief, standardized, and closed-ended. There is no language for uncertainty because uncertainty is considered resolved by the existence of the order. The structure appears stable because it is stable. It has processed countless instructions before. Most have produced acceptable outcome. This history is not recorded in detail, only summarized in the continued functioning of the system. Past success becomes justification for present compliance. As the order continues its descent, it encounters no resistance because resistance has no designated place. There is no checkpoint designed to reassess intent. There is only confirmation that the next unit is ready. Readiness is defined as the ability to comply immediately. The final layers receive the order with the least context and the highest obligation. Here, compliance is closest to execution. The distance between instruction and action is minimal. The structure tightens. Flexibility disappears. What remains is precision without interpretation. At no point does the system pause to ask whether the order should proceed. That question does not belong to any single position within the hierarchy. It exists nowhere inside the structure. The order continues downward because that is what orders do, and the structure exists to ensure they are never stopped. Execution begins without ceremony. There is no moment that marks its start. No signal separates preparation from action. The order has already been integrated into schedules, assigned to units, translated into timing and sequence. What follows is not a response, but a continuation. The system shifts seamlessly from transmission to movement. Tasks are carried out in the exact configuration prescribed. Each action aligns with a predetermined interval. Coordination replaces contemplation. Movements are synchronized not by urgency, but by adherence. Precision is achieved through repetition, not understanding. Communication during execution is minimal. Only confirmations pass between elements, brief and standardized. Each confirmation serves the same purpose: to verify that the previous step has been completed and that the next may proceed. The content of the order is no longer discussed. It has become implicit. There is no room for interpretation because interpretation would require variation. Variation introduces unpredictability. The structure has been designed to eliminate unpredictability by removing choice. Every participant knows what is expected because expectation has been rehearsed repeatedly in other contexts, under other orders, all following the same logic. Timing governs everything. Clocks are checked against synchronized references. Delays are noted, but only in relation to sequence, not consequence. If a delay occurs, it is corrected by adjustment elsewhere. The objective is not reconsideration, but alignment. Those executing the order do not see the whole. Their field of awareness is limited to immediate surroundings and assigned function. This limitation is functional. It reduces distraction. It ensures focus. It also ensures that no single point along the chain possesses enough information to alter the process. Compliance is reinforced through visibility. Each action is observed by another. Observation is not suspicion, it is confirmation. The presence of oversight does not create pressure to question, only pressure to perform accurate. Accuracy is measured against instruction, not outcome. As execution continues, the order manifests physically. Resources are committed, positions are taken, movements occur at prescribed interval. Each step confirms the previous one, building momentum that cannot be easily reversed. The system does not include a mechanism for reversal once execution has begun. Unexpected conditions arise, as they always do. They are noted, categorized, and filed within existing parameters. The order does not change in response. Adaptation is limited to maintaining sequence, not revising intent. The distinction is subtle, but absolute. Silence persists throughout. Not the silence of uncertainty, but the silence of function. There is no debate, no raised voices, no visible hesitation. The absence of objection is interpreted as proof of correctness. The process continues because it is unopposed. By the time execution reaches full scale, the order no longer requires enforcement. It is being carried forward by momentum alone. Each completed action narrows the remaining option. The structure advances as designed, converting instruction into reality without deviation, without pause, and without question. The first signs do not arrive as alarms. They appear as minor discrepancies, recorded without emphasis. A timing variance, a resource misalignment, a condition that does not match expectation but still falls within acceptable margins. Each is noted, categorized, and absorbed into the existing framework. None are interpreted as indicators. Indicators would require reference to an alternative course. No such reference exists. The order continues unchanged. As execution progresses, the discrepancies accumulate. They do not interrupt sequence. They complicate it. Adjustments are made to preserve alignment with the original instruction. These adjustments are procedural, not adaptive. They are designed to maintain motion, not to alter direction. Information begins to move upward, but only in the form allowed by the structure. Reports are formatted. Language is restrained. Observations are stripped of implication. The system recognizes data, not inference. What cannot be expressed within standardized fields is omitted. Those receiving these reports interpret them correctly within the limits of their role. They recognize irregularities, but irregularity alone does not authorize deviation. The order remains valid. Validity is defined by authorization, not by performance. The environment shifts further from expectation. Conditions diverge. The gap between plan and reality widens, but it does so gradually, without a clear threshold where continuation becomes clearly unsound. The absence of a defined stopping point ensures continuity. Requests for clarification are processed, not escalate. Clarification is limited to interpretation of instruction, not reconsideration of intent. Each response reaffirms the original order, sometimes with greater specificity, never with restraint. The system's efficiency now works against it. Each layer responds quickly, precisely, and consistently, reinforcing the same course of action. Speed replaces assessment. Consistency replaces judgment. The order gains strength through repetition at the moment it most requires interruption. Operational adjustments grow more frequent. Resources are reallocated. Timelines are compressed or extended to preserve sequence. None of these changes challenge the central directive. They exist only to ensure its completion. Confusion is present, but it is controlled. It manifests as increased reporting, tighter oversight, and more frequent confirmation checks. These measures create the appearance of control. They do not address the underlying misalignment. At no point does the system halt to reassess. There is no formal mechanism for suspension once execution has crossed a certain threshold. The structure assumes that movement forward is safer than uncertainty. Stopping would require collective acknowledgment of error. Such acknowledgment has no designated channel. As the order advances into conditions it was not designed to withstand, its limitations become structural rather than situational. The flaw is no longer hypothetical. It is now embedded in the process itself. The system continues to function exactly as intended, even as the outcome drifts further from viability. The order remains in effect. It remains authoritative, and it remains unchanged, carrying the operation forward into consequences that are no longer avoidable. The collapse does not announce itself as a singular event. It unfolds as a convergence of completed actions meeting conditions they were never meant to encounter. The order reaches points of execution, where compliance no longer produces progress, only exposure. Movements continue, but their effect diminishes. Coordination persists, but it now amplifies loss instead of control. Scale becomes visible. What was once segmented begins to overlap. Separate functions interfere with one another. Resources committed earlier cannot be recovered. Timelines intersect in ways not accounted for. The system responds by tightening adherence, attempting to restore order through increased precision. Precision cannot compensate for misdirection. The order remains unchanged. As consequences spread, reporting intensifies. Data flows upward more rapidly, but still within fixed parameters. Numbers increase. Status indicators shift. These changes are registered, acknowledged, and filed. They confirm deterioration without authorizing deviation. The structure recognizes that something is failing, but not that the order itself is the cause. Loss accumulates without narrative. There are no moments elevated above others. No decisive turning point. Only a steady expansion of impact as execution reaches its final stages. The absence of improvisation ensures uniformity of outcome. The same instructions produce the same results across all units involved. Attempts to mitigate effects are localized and procedural. They address symptom, not origin. Adjustments are made to maintain continuity, even as continuity ensures further degradation. The system does not adapt because adaptation would require authority it has not distributed. Communication becomes dense but remains restrained. Language grows more technical, more abstract, further removed from consequence. Terms are used to categorize failure without confronting it. The vocabulary of the system protects itself. The structure begins to show strain, not through breakdown of discipline but through overload. The mechanisms designed to manage complexity are saturated. Responses lag. Confirmations arrive late. Yet the order persists. Still valid, still active, still obeyed. By the time execution reaches completion, the outcome is no longer ambiguous. The objectives have not been. The cost has exceeded acceptable threshold. The operation has produced irreversible effects. None of this alters the status of the order. Completion is logged. Final acknowledgments are made. There is no moment of release. The collapse settles into records, into after-action formats, into carefully bounded summaries. What cannot be reconciled is omitted. What cannot be explained is categorized as circumstance. The system registers failure without absorbing responsibility. The order has finished moving through the structure. It has done exactly what it was designed to do. What remains is not silence, but continuation, another sequence beginning elsewhere, under the same rules, carrying the same assumptions forward. After execution ends, the system does not stop. It contracts slightly, then resumes its normal rhythm. The channels that carried the order remain open. Reports are compiled, formatted, and distributed along the same paths that once transmitted instruction. Language is measured. Causality is restrained. Events are described in terms of sequence, not decision. The order is no longer referenced directly. It dissolves into documentation, broken into components that can be examined independently. Timelines are reconstructed. Metrics are compared. Deviations are identified at points far from origin. The structure favors analysis that isolates error into manageable segments. Fragmentation reduces exposure. No single document contains the full account. Each addresses a portion, bounded by role and relevance. When read together, they do not form a narrative. They form a record. Records are neutral by design. They preserve continuity without assigning weight. Responsibility is distributed so evenly that it becomes imperceptible. Each level confirms that procedures were followed. Each confirmation is accurate. The order was legal. The order was clear. The order was executed precisely. These statements coexist without contradiction inside the system. Meetings occur. Attendance is logged. Language remains formal. Phrases recur across discussions, reinforcing alignment. The tone is corrective without being accusatory. The focus shifts toward future efficiency, toward refinement of process. The failure is treated as an anomaly within an otherwise functional structure. The absence of explicit accountability is not an oversight. It is a feature. The system is designed to preserve itself. Assigning blame would imply vulnerability at a structural level. Instead, emphasis is placed on resilience, on continuity, on lessons that do not require change in authority. Operational tempo increases elsewhere. New orders are issued. They follow familiar patterns. They move through the same channels. The recent failure is not referenced during their transmission. Context is not cumulative. Each instruction exists in isolation. Those involved return to their position. Roles remain unchanged. Experience is absorbed quietly, without formal acknowledgment. There is no space allocated for reflection beyond prescribed formats. The structure does not pause to remember. Over time, the failure recedes from immediate awareness. It survives only in archives, accessible but rarely consulted. Its details are intact, but detached from urgency. Without pressure, memory loses force. The system continues to function as intended. Another order is already moving through it. The language is familiar. The process is smooth. The structure remains intact, efficient, and unquestioning. Nothing in its design has been altered to prevent repetition. There is no indication that interruption is expected. The silence that follows is not emptiness. It is stability. The same stability that allowed the order to proceed now ensures that its consequences fade without resolution, leaving the system ready to carry the next instruction forward, uninterrupted.